Hi folks, we're looking at Proverbs chapter 5 verse 1 to 3. The heading in my Bible is here, warning against adultery. So he says, pay careful attention to my wisdom, listen to my words of insight, that you may maintain discretion and your lips may preserve knowledge. For the lips of an adulteress drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. All right, so I think there's a couple of things here about adultery that I want to talk about. It is a sensitive topic, but it's a real topic. It is something that affects people inside and outside the church, and it's a sin that we do need to deal with and run from. So the first thing here is he says, maintain discretion. I think adultery definitely starts with indiscretion. Adultery starts with thoughts. Adultery is not something that just happens on us. Adultery is something that we think about, that we act upon, and we start acting on behavior patterns that are indiscretion. We stay late, work with a secretary closer than what we should. We drive in a car with a female when we shouldn't. We're counseling females when we shouldn't be. And it starts with indiscretion. So he says wisdom is that you maintain discretion. That's the first point. Then he says the adulteress, the lips of the adulteress is like honey. In other words, it looks so attractive, adultery, because sometimes when we go through our marriage issues and people who are friendly and nice to us become so attractive, whether they're male or female, they become so attractive to us. It's not always the women that commit adultery or the women that are the cause of adultery. It's definitely men as well. And it starts when we don't deal with issues at our home. So he says it looks so attractive. It seems like it is going to be so nice. Then our emotions starts rising, and it's then when the problem really starts. And so he addresses the next thing here in verse 4 to 14, and he says that the whole issue of adultery leads to destruction. And it's true. It starts with indiscretion. It then affects my mind and my emotions, and then it leads to destruction. And you can see the words that he uses: grave, death, hell, the paths are crooked. And he's very strong about the fact that it is not a smooth path. It is not as easy or nice as what it looks like when you started it. It definitely leads to destruction. And then a little bit later, he says, run from it. And I think in verse 8, keep to a path far from her. Do not go near the door of her house. In other words, when you feel those emotions, when you think that something is starting here between you and somebody that you're not married to, run. That's the advice Solomon gives you. Don't even go close to her door. Run from that temptation. So do maintain wisdom when it comes to your indiscretion. Remember, your heart is going to fall here, and then it's going to lead to destruction. Run early. Father, help us to see when it comes our way, to open our eyes, to let wisdom guide us here. Let the knowledge we have guide us here when it comes to our relationships, and especially those that are not of you, that are outside our marriage. And I pray that you'd help us to stop and to run if there are any thoughts that we are entertaining at the moment that are adulterous thoughts. We ask that in Jesus' name.